got so many phone calls when we had the conversation about, matching the business case to, a technology and really bridging that gap. I actually don't like the fact that so many of you watch these videos and you don't comment in the comment section, and then you give me a call. I mean, that's not going to help my YouTube clout. But I think in all seriousness, I think it's worth really drawing down into some of these things. And I think the best way is always, through giving examples and giving clear-cut cases. So I think the next 2 or so episodes, I'm actually going to drill down into this particular phenomena. And I'm actually going to show, different examples from organizations we've worked with in the past and where they were able to get it right in terms of, the investment in artificial intelligence, where they actually were able to, have a business case for it, and were able to match the business goal to the net benefits of the technology. And, in the next episode, I'll also then look at, how that can go wrong and what key areas, an organization can go wrong in doing that. I'll start with an organization. I think I'm very biased towards the financial services industry. I think it's largely because that's where my initial background has been in. And this is also where I've done quite a bit of work, working, subcontracting, and, building projects around. And so one of the key organizations, I think it's an organization that's in consolidated financial services. So they offer more than one financial service, right? So they've got a bit of insurance, asset management, and all this. They had one very big problem, right? And the problem they had was that their call center just simply had too many requests. So initially what they did to solve this particular problem was they went on to get, these large call center outsourcing firms. And it was very difficult for them to justify the amount of money they were spending, on those call centers with, whether or not it was a good return on investment for them. Because obviously with call centers, the more customers you have, the more call center agents you've got to have. And the more call center agents you've got to have, the more, challenges that you're going to have, especially, when it comes to cost, from a cost perspective. And so it's a very thin balance that organizations need to try and get right. And so a few years ago, the idea was, look, how can we be able to introduce natural language processing powered applications to be able to at least reduce the number of, these requests that are coming in? Because what they were seeing was that a lot of the requests were pretty much the same, right? People will be asking about, example, in the insurance business, they'll be asking about when is my premium due, how much can I claim, all these different types of questions really. That would be very simple database queries and requests really, if anything. And so because a lot of those, kinds of questions were frequently asked questions for them the idea was, how about we actually go in and automate this? So at the time, if I'm not mistaken, this is about 2 years ago, what was available at the time was the GPT chat completion API. So what we did is that, because typically pre-GPT, you'd have to actually go on and train your own natural language model, and then from there go on and model it around that. So what we did there was we took the chat completion model, and we just did a couple of embeddings now, taking all the different types of frequently asked questions they had, and built on top of that, and we were able now to run at least about 60-70% of their call center requests and questions. And so in this particular case, it was very clear that, look, if we're able to have about 60 to 70% of these call center requests answered instantly through this particular API or this particular service, that would be able to justify the cost of the API per call as well as the cost of the solution itself. It was lower than the cost of adding more and more call center agents. So in terms of from a cost comparison perspective, we're able to see that it's cheaper to do it this way. Clearly, there was no gimmicks around it, around what savings look like. Number two, the thing was, they were able now to have their customers become even happier because all the requests were being answered much quicker. And the third layer now was that because now there was lesser requests that the human beings had to answer, they were able now to go and get a smaller, call center count in terms of all those people that had to bring in there. So then now, when you look at all these key things there, yes, there was a cool technology that was available there. they were able to then take it and have a clear business case in terms of improving customer experience and improving efficiency, and thus ultimately reducing costs. And on the other hand, they were also able to make sure that the bottom line was taken care of. And I think that again goes back to the point that I was emphasizing in the previous episode. It's critical that you always make sure that there's a clear business case. And the moment that you find yourself doing so many different types of ratios and calculations on things, you know that you're about to make a mistake and you're lying to yourself in terms of what the business case would look like. So it's very important, like I said, to always be very clear about what the business case is. Thank you so much, once again, for joining me on this week's episode. It was a bit short because they did the right thing and they did it very well. And I really look forward to having a chat again with you next week. Please, let's do interact continuously. As a community, our industry is growing, and it's important that we continue to really build each other as we go along. Let's meet again right here next week, same time.